up there, and it absolutely worked beautifully. Actually, we did. We filled out these at our meetings prior to, and we had probably, I don't know how many on there, 50, maybe 40
yeah.
slogans, and we had them just different ways, and so that it was kind of neat. And I was kind of nervous about, okay, how do you really get that going? And just like Jim said, just opened it up after we read a reading or two about slogans and the meaning, and people just started popcorning. I like the 3 C's because this is how it's applied to me here, and I mean, we could have gone on all afternoon. It was great, very, very cool. So with that, we're going to read page 251, slogans in the sesh, slogans to serenity. What's the date? Okay, in just
September 7th.
September 7th. And does anybody have the Sharing Recovery book?
I've got one right here.
Okay, Jim. Well, we'll see.
I don't know.
You've been talking. Becky, would you read?
September 7th.
No, I'm going to let you read this right here.
Sure thing.
Page 3 is slogans and sayings. Okay.
Page 3. Are you ready for me to begin?
Yes, but Becky start.
I'll start with slogans and sayings. Slogans and sayings are the banisters we hold on to as we climb the steps of recovery. They give us something to hold on to, sometimes holding on to for dear life. Let go or be dragged. Letting go is the challenge of my recovery. Looking upward to my higher power and inward at myself rather than immediately reaching to what is going on around me. This is the key to the spiritual journey to inner peace that I am on in recovery. I spin out of mental and emotional control of my circumstances if I do not take the time to breathe and think. I remember to practice having faith and trusting in a power greater than myself, the steps, and my fellowship of recovery. I find that recovery works if I work it, and I am working. Oftentimes I work it by not doing, by actively practicing faith and trust in a loving higher power as my recovery. That is all. When I unleash my fists and open my hands a little bit, I invite my higher power to work in ways I cannot. I learn to trust by practicing trust. I am empowered to see myself and my choices through this process. It is through the practice of letting go that my faith and trust grow. My mind stops being filled with fears and nameless dreads. Rather, serenity guards my mind and heart, and I am at peace. I am able to take my loving step back from my loved one and allow others to walk their own paths while I stay on mine. I am learning to intuitively respond to circumstances from a heart steeped in inner peace. Some slogans and sayings that have helped me in my recovery. Helping doesn't help if it's not my stuff. If nothing changes, nothing changes. I can't, God can, I think I'll let Him. It is not about me. Pause. Don't take everything personally. Easy does it. Progress, not perfection. May I be my higher power's instrument of peace. God give me the courage, wisdom, and peace to be the carrier of the message, not the addict.
Thank you, Becky.
Thanks.
Becky. All right. Somebody read 251 who hadn't said a whole lot?
Everyone looked at me.
Okay, I'm Liz.
Liz.
Slogans to serenity. Nar-Anon has many slogans. Many of them are cliches that I have heard before. I even knew about the program. Before I was in Nar-Anon, I never took them seriously. Today I am finding these simple slogans can help me deal with difficult situations. They are simple but powerful phrases that help me to remember some very important Nar principles. As one member expresses in the following poem: calm my spirit, calm my mind. Know my highest power will lead the way. Remember, easy does it. I can do it just for today. Let go and let God, one day at a time. I can listen and learn if I keep an open mind. When I put things first, I can live and let live. Don't forget to keep it simple. Slogans have so much to give. Just think, how important is it as I seek serenity? Although my higher power will lead me through this, let it begin with me. Thought for today. I will try to remember and practice the slogans of the Nar program. They serve as gentle guides that help me choose new reactions to old problems and situations. They are helping me make better choices. They also help me deal with fear that can often cloud my judgment and prevent me from having the courage to change myself for the better. Slogans are the railings we hold on to as we climb the steps. So known.
Thanks, Liz. I heard them called banisters and railings and gentle guides. I had heard slogans before and really didn't see them apply to my everyday life like I do today. And so I asked you guys to write some of your favorite some of your favorite, or one of your favorite ones, and if you decided it's a different one, you can share that too. But anyway, I'll kick off saying, how important is it? For me, Rose said, for me, even in telling a story, it used to be, you had to have the details right. The timelines. When things happen. And even my spouse is my qualifier, but even prior to being in these rooms for recovery, he and I was like that, and that caused dissension then. So I'm able to practice this principle in all my affairs in life, and I have found that very helpful even with my kids. But this is huge for me. Does it really matter that it was January of 14, and for some things it is important, but for most people it's not as important as it is for me. And I have to, also heard Becky in her reading, not take things personally. I mean, I could even take things like, not getting the timeline personal. Really, you don't know how long we've been married. You don't know, these are things going in my head. You don't really know how old our kid is. You don't really remember, whatever. And I would take those things so personally, and I had to really step back and say, how important is it? And I know today that I am not perfect, but I see great growth. Greg and I were able to share with a couple, one in Narnon the other night, and a spouse in NA. And we share from different points of view, and he shared something from his point of view that it was really tough for me. And 5 years ago, 10 years ago, of course we wouldn't have been sharing that, but had that happened, I would have just had to come apart when we left there, or maybe even there corrected him. which totally gets under his skin, and that is not appropriate for me to do in our situation. And I didn't even bring it up until I wasn't even going to bring it up until we actually had a conversation about it because of another opportunity to share with another couple of people, and I thought I needed to address it before that. And even before I said it, he said, I wish there was one thing I could take back. And guess what it was? The thing that I had the issue with. And so I just was so thankful to my higher power to realize that I don't have to be in charge. I don't have to be in control. I don't have to make the point that if I will be quiet and step back, somebody with a lot more influence, higher power, in his life and my life can make a much bigger impact than I ever could. And with that, I'll pass.
Thanks, Denise.
Thank you. Somebody else share about their.
One of the hardest things, and this is not my slogan, but one of the hardest things I do on a daily basis is shut up. I heard that at a meeting. I'm like, God, I can relate. Especially at work.
Well, Liz, I'm going to go ahead and do mine because I'll just do it. Anyway, it's let go and let God. This is the slogan that rules my life. I have been a fixer, tried to be a fixer of many things. And because, I thought if I practiced doing good things, that would warrant me some good results. And that didn't always happen. And it's not like I don't think I tried to control people as much as help them. Which maybe there's not a difference, I'm not sure. Because if I found somebody in need in the family that I could help, I would help. And I don't think that all of helping is bad at all. I think you just have to know to say when. I have a niece who was in quite a need several different times in her life. It's my older sister's daughter. And I helped her out. And I don't regret any of that. However, I had to take a moment and say, is it working? Well, no. Nothing was working that I was doing, but I planted. And I did plant things in her head and plant things in her son's head who was gone for a while. And I hope and pray that those things are going to help one day. But I did have to learn to turn around and say, enough is enough. And so in my life, every time I've had a situation, and most of the folks in here know I was married to an alcoholic for about 11 years, and I tried real hard to do the things that would help him too, and none of that worked. So this is the slogan that works for me when I got to the point to where I could not do one more thing to help or try to make it work, was to let go of it. And I did that. I let go of things eventually. After I beat my head against the wall enough, I just let go of trying to change any situation and let God have it. When I came to this program, I had tried everything that I could possibly do for many, many, many years. I cried out to my God one more time. And he simply said, get out of my way, plain and clear in my head. Let go of him and get out of my way. And that's what I did. I made the comment before, I tried everything else. I'll try this. And this has worked for me. And I have learned to not only let go of him, but I have learned to let go in these few short years that I've been in here of a lot of different things. Because this program has taught me how to let go and understand that people are people. As Jim says, nobody's perfect. We're all kind of strange and weird in our own little ways. And we'll never make people be what we want them to be. So we just love them where they're at, accept how God made them, and move on. So this is me. And I'll pass. Thanks for sharing this.
I can't even make me be what I want to be. That's a God thing too. Listen and learn. There are times when I go to a meeting I don't say a darn thing because I really have nothing useful to share. So I figure I'm better off just listening and absorbing the experiences of other people and trying to learn from their experiences. Very few of us actually listen to each other. That's one good thing about a meeting. Everybody shuts up and they actually listen. Most of us in our daily lives, instead of listening to the other person, we are thinking about what we're going to say before they finish. So if I shut up and listen, I might learn something. I might be able to respond appropriately instead of reacting. I'm less likely to try to control someone. Listening is a skill. When I'm truly listening to you, I'm going to look at you more than likely, unless I'm trying to focus on what you're saying. Or I'm going to ask you questions, how did that make you feel? What did you do about it? Instead of, well, that happened to me too, and I'm, no, that's not listening. Listening, this has helped me to understand that listening is seeking to understand the other person, to see things from their perspective. It's not me coming up with some great response. It's about me just trying to understand it. So when I listen, I learn.
Ms. Rose, thanks for sharing this.
Okay, I guess I must be next then, right? Going this way. I'm Dan. Coming to Naranon was a real eye-opening experience for Liz and I both, and especially for me. The addict in our life, I realized he was sick. I thought he had this I don't give a crap disease, and he didn't. And I didn't realize that that was just a symptom of the disease that he actually suffered from, and that was the addiction to drugs. So that was one of the big eye-awakening things for me, is to realize that he was addicted, and the unacceptable behavior that just drove me up the wall and put a wedge between he and I was really just symptoms of the disease that he suffered from. And so it didn't take me long. Well, the other thing I probably should say before I talk about the slogan is that I also came with this expectation that someone in the media was going to tell us how to stop it, how to stop his usage, how to control it, and would be done, Well, you all know that was anyway. I quickly identified with the 3 C's. I didn't cause it, I can't control it, and I can't cure it. I don't know that I really struggled so much with the cause thing, but I really thought control. And if I could get in his face, get loud enough, if I could ignore him enough, if I could belittle him enough, all of these techniques, if I could do that, then he'd just wake up and say, "Oh, I need to stop using drugs today," And I didn't. So I had to learn that the only person I could control was myself, and I can't control the disease of addiction. And so the strange thing about that is maybe somewhere in the back of my mind I thought, well, if I can get him to stop using, then I've cured him. So maybe I thought in some way if I could control it, then I could cure it. So anyway, it didn't take me long to identify with the 3 C's.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan. I'm Juliet,
Juliet.
and I chose the slogan "Detach with Love." It's my favorite because it's the one I struggle with the most. My mother struggles with alcoholism and is not in recovery. And that took a lot of years of therapy for me to detach with love from her, and let the higher power guide her wherever she is meant to go, and guide me where I am meant to go. But I am so addicted to my own disease of control and helping, nurturing, guiding. I was the older sibling of two, so I would step in to the mother role quite a lot whenever she was too intoxicated or depressed to do so. So I grew up being that to my little brother. And it's funny how addictions will morph in a way that is hard to spot. Because I spent a lot of years in therapy and working the 12 steps to detach with love from my mother, but it will transfer to other people and things in my life. And before we started going to these meetings and I became pretty active in R&On, things were getting pretty bad with my partner. And it's funny how the more you work on something, the harder it gets for quite some time. And I've said in meetings before, I consider those relapses for myself. Whenever I let my control issues and desire to help and to change and to dictate, because obviously my opinion is the smartest one and the brightest one, right? I'm on the outside looking in. But I consider those relapses where I'll have these bouts of, belittling, berating, dictating, etc. But that's what the 12 steps in R&On is for, is to help me spiritually get back to that place of zen, for lack of a better word, that I achieved, at least towards my mother, but it needs to be directed towards me. That's what my struggle is detaching with love. And I love having a weekly reminder to focus on what I can do differently, how I can improve myself, and I'm grateful to be here.
I'm Becky, and one of my favorites, I have a lot of favorites, but one of my favorites is the live and let live. When I started coming to Narnon, I didn't realize how much I wasn't living or taking care of myself because I was too busy minding somebody else's business, whereabouts, actions, etc. And so I had to learn that I needed to take care of myself, focus on myself, and to let the other person live their life, their way, with their program, and not be obsessed or consumed with them, and to take care of myself. And I could also say that would transfer to a lot of things, like one of the things that I don't like about myself is I sometimes will find myself being resentful or judgmental of another person. Maybe I felt that person was an enabler to my loved one, and so I had to kind of let that go for that person too, and let them, let them live. So I had to do a lot of take care of myself and live, and to let those other people mind my own business, so to speak. That's a hot topic in our group sometimes, is minding our own business. So
sharing.
Thanks for sharing.
My name's Rusty.
Rusty.
It's called keeping our side of the street clean.
Yep. Can only clean your side.
I picked the 3 C's and I got them wrong. I can't change, control, nor did I cause it. Well, actually, it's control, cause, and cure, like Dan said. Because I've always known that the only thing that's actually cured in this world is ham. I mean, they've never cured a disease. They prevent them, but they don't cure them. But there's a 4th C that I have to remind myself is, and that is I can contribute to the craziness. So, that's all. What much to say about it?
Thanks, Rusty.
I'm Jim. Actually, I had no as a complete sentence. I struggled with that for a long time because every time I said no, I thought I had to back it up with a reason why I said no. When I came into this program, I found out I could actually just say no and that'd be it. And also on the flip side, my sponsor, this is probably not a slogan, but this is something he gave me and I use it all the time. When I came into this program, I was E over I. He told me that one day when I sat down. He said, what you got going on is you're E over I. And I looked at him real funny. He said, you don't know what I'm talking about, do you? And I said, no. I said, that's the reason I'm here with you, because I don't know what I'm talking about. And he says, well, right now you're dealing with your emotions over your intelligence. He said, what you need to be is I over E, where your intelligence is over your emotions. And so I use that as one of my slogans, even though it's not a slogan that you ever see written in any of the books anywhere. It may be just one of his slogans. I don't know. But I use it all the time. It's helped me tremendously. And actually, it's helped me with no as a complete sentence. Because if I keep my emotions out of it, then I can say no. But if I got my emotions in it like I used to have, I'm going to say no because I'm going to go into a whole different thing. And nothing gets resolved by it. So those two work together for me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Those are awesome. Thank everybody for sharing. And we could sit around here and talk a lot about all the different slogans. But I think we should take a break, go have some lunch, and I'm sure that there will be lots of conversation over lunch about different aspects of things going on. And a lot of time breaking bread with one another is some of the coolest times. So with that,
So go out to the road, make a right.
we're going to go out to the road, make a right, go over the bridge.
Okay.
And get in the left-hand lane, and before you start up the little hill, you will see Rick's Barbecue on the left.
Okay.
And Rick's Barbecue, great stuff. I always do baked potato.
Always do baked potato.
I always do baked potato with, I usually do turkey or chicken and stuffed baked potato. It's like $6 and it's huge and delicious. You'll not be hungry when you finish it.
Whoever gets there first, get a table for 8.
I'm Rose.
Hey, Rose.
Do we have a nap time built into the schedule?
Well, I decided we'd go ahead and do this, and maybe you can get out of here a little early and catch a nap if you need to, or you can stay here and catch a nap. Let's see. Dismiss. No, we won't do a formal dismissal. We'll do that on our meeting. Cool.
I was just thinking, if we baked potatoes, we
And,
could all
times here, some of our slogans, and
set start
my
have a
phone number,
tendency.
that's what their phone number, our name.
Carbo's.
Yeah, carbs have a tendency to just
I
cut you to
stole all those
sleep.
little things from.
Well, they do have a
Okay.
salad one we can have.
Cool. I'm excited.
Me too.
Because-
They have some
So we
good
can
stuff.
take it to like a
Susan
treatment
was in
center and
here.
stuff.
Yeah. See, bless Susan's
Which-
heart, she has been working like a
We
dog.
actually-
What's she doing?
She's working in a nursery in
Brochure.
Hampton Cove, and she's working the
I'm
month
going
of
to post
April
it
and
on
May.
my
What, with plants?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
This,
And in addition to teaching at Martin, but I
Yes,
think
those are
they have
good.
finished
But it's got
that. And she's actually writing for
world stuff on
two
it. And I've talked to several people who are
magazines,
trying to get
like
some ads
local
on TV.
magazines
And
around
they said, you
town.
want a local number on
So
there,
she
Ken."
has just been hopping it, but it's
Wow.
it's
We
been
put
good
our,
for her too. I think
Yeah, we put our group
Okay.
email on there, and if we had a
In
website,
This is our
being
setup
kind of
at the convention.
independent.
that was great.
I think it's
I love
helped her.
awesome. I like the color of the bears.
She
Great. I gotta go get my feel good stuff. How do we travel?
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes me feel good.
That's an excellent one. And there's a codependence no more book too, or sorry,